Hello everyone, welcome back to Mad About Cards and Crafts. Today I'm sharing a card using Penny Black Unforgettable. I used this in another watercoloring video earlier last week, and I thought that I would come back one more time. That right there is a piece of Bristol vellum cardstock. It's the wrong cardstock, so I ended up stamping this out onto that vellum and trying to watercolor it, and it didn't work. So here I am restamping it using the Gina Designs Amalgam ink, and then I am going to come in with my Altenew Tropical Fiesta watercolors. Now this is the lime, and I put a lot of water down. These are highly concentrated watercolors, and I've shared them many times before. Sometimes I will use them and put the full concentration up in the darkest areas and then pull it out, but I wanted something a little bit softer, and so I watered it down to begin with, and I'm using a silver brush number 4 paintbrush to paint these leaves. Now this card is a disaster. I had a great idea and it didn't work out in any way, shape, or form. And that's what I'm here to share. So today I thought that I was going to watercolor this piece, and then I would use my Brother Scan and Cut to cut it out. But my Brother Scan and Cut was not reading it. I closed, so with the Brother Scan and Cut, you need to close any open lines because it will recognize and make cuts that it shouldn't be making. And so I thought that I know I closed all the lines, but it still wasn't reading it properly. It was skipping leaves, it was cutting where it shouldn't be cutting, and I must have loaded it and unloaded it 6 or 7 times before I finally decided that I was going to give up. Now that was not my first mistake. Today was just a disaster. It was one of those days where nothing could go right, including the card. I'm going to get back to this real quick. I took and mixed a couple colors together, the Desert Night, which is a dark blue, the turquoise, and then some of that lime, and I'm getting a bluish green type of color. And I wanted these particular roses to have a different color than the larger leaves because they appear to be different types of flowers. So back to my story. So my husband had went outside, one of our pipes had burst outside. There wasn't water rushing or anything, but it was something that he thought he could fix. And so he cut the pipe off on the exterior and ran it back and forth, and he was calling me when he was at the store. So do I need anything from Walmart while he's out at Walmart? Do I need something here? What do I think about this? And so he was going back and forth and making phone calls in the midst of my watercoloring. I did take just that purple wine, which is a kind of a magenta type color, and I watered it down a lot so that I could get those light pink colors. And what I'm basically doing right here is I'm just laying down washes of color. So I'm not trying to really create any shadows or anything like that. I'm just laying down the color, and then I'm going to come in with darker colors and changes in color, combinations of colors to change the colors of the flowers. Now the one thing that I was happy with was my watercoloring. I loved the way that this particular piece came out as a watercolored floral. But in between those phone calls, I kept dropping paint onto the white portions of my Bristol Smooth cardstock. So you're going to see in just a few minutes that I'm going to get a big blue blob on the left side, and then I tried to clean that up, and then I drop a pink, like a really tiny high concentrated bit of that purple wine in the upper right hand portion of the floral, and that's where I had to start making changes to the card. So I switched over, as you can see, to a #2 paintbrush. That's still a silver brush paintbrush, and now I took some of that greenish mixture, the green and the blues, and I am adding that to add some shadows to those larger leaves. So basically, there's that blue blob. So basically what I'm doing is I did the green and then I did the blue on top, and then for the smaller leaves I do the blue and I bring in a little higher concentrate of that, and I'm still not completely satisfied with the color. I think it's too much of a contrast between the green and that bluish color. So I will then come in with a little bit of that lime using that #2 brush, and I'll do a little bit more shading, and I think that it just flows much better than if I just used the blue-green mixture that I initially started with. So back to the card. So I'm working on this, and I ran it through the Brother Scan and Cut, and that didn't work. And now I have these blobs of color on my paper, and you'll see that I will end up coming in and trying to make some adjustments, and I have to completely change what I was going to do with the card. So, you know, I go into this and I think I'm going to come out with a die cut floral that I can use popped up in another way, and the card looks nothing like what I envisioned. So here I took the purple wine and I took a little bit of Sunkissed, which is an orange color, and a little bit of fresh lemon, and I mixed those two together. There's that camera that I use when I am coloring up my images, because I like to see what exactly I'm doing and how it looks on film. So I mix those two colors together, and that's what gave me that initial wash on this flower. And then I come in with the purple wine and I dilute it, and I start just adding some of the depth to the flower. And I think that it's a beautiful combination, the two colors together. I did use a little bit more water on my brush. I do go back, and there's a towel to my left, a microfiber cloth, and I do go back in and I will dab my brush off, because if you get too much water on it, then that's when you start getting the warpage. But with these particular water brush pens, I don't get really bad warpage because I'm able to keep the water to a minimum. So now I'm just deepening the color, and I'm going to do the same thing to that rosebud right there, and then the one to the left of it. So they'll have just a slight, I think these will be just slightly lighter than the large flower, but I did use the same basic combination, which was the purple wine and the Sunkissed with a little bit of fresh lemon. And you see that a little bit of this color goes a long way. So when I squeeze, I end up getting a bigger drop than what I really need, and I wish there was a way that you could put it back into the well, and I probably, if I were a smart girl, would use it with a glass bowl or something that I could just set aside and go back to, but I didn't. So I'm back to these rosebuds, and I'm taking some of that, the same color. I just watered it down a little bit, and I'm adding a little bit of depth to the rosebuds, and I will come in to the larger flowers, those peony type of roses, and I will go with those, and I will do a solid wash, real light wash of color, and then I will come back in and add a little bit of depth. So I laid water down, and then I'm going over it with a very, very, very watered down purple wine, and then I'll come in with a higher concentrate of the purple wine and deepen that, and I will use that brush to to just soften some of the lines so that I don't have a lot of harsh lines. I will color the center of what I would call the wild rose, the big rose in the front. I will color that with a concentration of the purple wine and sun-kissed. It's going to be light at first. I'll come in with a second coat of that, and then I'm going to come in with one of my black gel pens, and I will, there's like little stamens inside the center of the flower, so I'll use my gel pen and I will make that black, and then I will do some dotting on the center of the flower as well, because I didn't want to do like a green or a yellow. I thought that it would just be too much contrast, so I wanted to keep everything pretty, much in the same color family, and so that's why I went ahead and just colored the center a deeper version of the floral and came back in with my black pen to add a little bit of detail. So today just went awry. My husband went back and forth to the store, Ace and Runnings and other stores, and he finally came back and he said, you know what, they soldered everything in, and we're going to have to call a plumber. And so we called a plumber. The plumber came out because we had our water shut off. We weren't going to have any water. And so he came out and he took a look and he said, I have to cut a hole in your wall. So down in my basement, he has cut a hole in the wall so that he could stop that particular pipe so there's no water going to it. He put a stopper on that. That being said, we now have a piece of drywall that has to be put back in. I came in with this MFT frame die. It's from one of the Blueprint Sketches sets, and I thought that this would work, and I would just mount it on maybe some black cardstock or something, and then those blobs were still there. It didn't cover it up. So I said, let's go ahead and make this a little bit distressed. So I came in with the antique linen and I put that around, and when I look at it on film, I like it a lot better than I did when I was looking at it in person. But I didn't like it, and you can see the spot on the left, it just intensified it. So instead of covering up my blemish, I just made it worse. And so I decided to come in with the tattered rose and just add like a pink. And then I came in with this frame and I cut one in black and I cut one in green, which was from an MFT paper pad, and I didn't like that and realized I needed to cut it down even more. So now I am going to finish up this card by using a black piece of paper that was cut with Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle die, and then I will mount that to the top of that green polka dot paper, so I was able to salvage some of the pieces that I used. Back to the story real quick before my card is finished. We ended up calling the plumber. We cut a hole in our wall. It has to be repaired. We don't have any matching paint, so now we may be painting our basement. Fun story, fun card. The card looks nothing like I imagined, but I wanted to share it with you, and I wanted to talk a little bit about, having to roll with the punches, and basically that's what I did. So let me know. Do you think the card turned out okay? Did I salvage it, or do you think I should have just chucked it? Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. I'll show you a quick close-up, and until next time, have a fabulous day.